Alright guys, welcome to another tutorial. In this tutorial, we're going to be looking at how to draft the skirt part, the basket part of this particular style. For the video of the half bodies, check it out on my page, and that's just it here. I've gone ahead to do that and I've posted that on my page. So let's dive into the tutorial now. Right, I have my pattern paper already divided into two, and you want to ensure that each of the widths is enough to go over 1/4 of the biggest part of the measurement. For this client, the biggest part of our measurement is the hips, and it's 48. So 1/4 of it will give us 12 inches. Each part of this paper that I've divided into two takes about 12 inches plus, which is fine for me, being that the measurement is 48. So now to start with, you want to label your pattern paper, the front side and the back side. And then on the waistline, that is the waistline, like I said. So you're going to be measuring, putting in your 1/4 of your waist measurements, then adding the dart allowance, which is 1.5. The next thing I went ahead to do is to get the hip line, which is you want to measure that on yourself or your client. I think I did made use of 9 inches there. So I will extend the same line to the back. You extend the same line to the back pattern. Yes. So that's how to go about doing that. Then you connect it that way. And then the next thing will be to determine your new length, the new line. Yeah. For you to know that, you want to measure from your shoulder to your new, or to your desired new line, and then you take out your half length. You know, the half body blocks that I already did bodies is 18 inches. So, and then the client from shoulder to her nail is 36. So I will take that away, and the remaining 18 inches is what I've actually put here to get the line. From the waist to that part is 18 inches. You want to determine that on yourself or on your clients. So we've gotten our hip line and our new line now. So the next thing we want to go ahead to do is to impute 1/4 of the hip circumference, which is for the client is 12 inches. Yeah. And that's what you see me do there. Then I'll go ahead and connect it to the waistline. You know, on the waistline too, you need to do 1/4 of the waist circumference plus 1.5 for the dart allowance. So connect it that way. This is the back pattern now, the center back. You want to make sure that you do your back tightening. I did that while drafting the upper bodies, which is, I did made use of 0.75. Once you take 0.75 from the center back on the waistline, you connect it to your hip line and mark that part out, because you're going to be trimming that off. This is to eliminate those folding at the back. And you want to do again on the waistline, your 1/4 of the waist measurement plus your dart allowance, and on the hip line, 1/4 of the hip measurement, which is 12 inches. Then you connect it to what you have on the waist to get that particular line. And then the next thing we want to do now is to plot our dart line, dart leg or line. Yeah. Before then, I'll go up by 2 inches from the original hip line. Then on that part, that's where that leg is going to end or rest on. So the next thing I'll be doing is, for the client, I have from bust to bust, nipple point to nipple point is 8 inches. So I'm going to be using half of that is 4 inches. So that's what I'm using on that part. Measure 4 inches, rule the line for the dart line. Then on that particular line, you want to take your dart intake. Remember, I added 1.5 for mine. So that means for each of the dart leg, it's going to be 0.75, 0.75. Then I'll connect it that way. If you are using 1 inch, which will be 0.5, 0.5, you want to do that. So that is up to you to decide whatever inches you want to use. And for the back too, you go ahead and measure 4 inches. But when you're measuring, you want to measure from the exact center back, not from the back tightening now. Then go ahead that way. The same thing we did for the front. Go up by 2 inches to get the dart leg, and then take your dart intake. Mine is 0.75 on both sides. Then I'll connect it to that part on the other side, 0.75, connect it that way. So that's how to go about plotting your darts, doing your dart intake, yeah. So for that part, we're almost done. And then we go to the new line now, because if what we have there on the hip line is 12 inches, 1/4 of the hip. And then for the hip line, because you're going to be making it, this exact one, you can use it for a pencil skirt, a straight skirt. So what I did was I reduced the measurement on the hip by 1.5 inches. What I have on the hip line, which is 1/4 of the hip circumference, 12 inches. But on the new line, I did make use of 10.5. Yeah, you can as well use up to take out up to like 2 inches or 1.5, depending on how fitted you want it to be. Remember, this particular scale, we're still going to be altering it. So let's continue. On that, at the center back on the new line, you want to do a kind of a we call it a tightening as well on that part, which is like a bump illusion. Yes, so I'm using 0.75. Sometimes I use 1 inch, depending on how it all depends on you, your preference. This is to make the fitting, at the back of the bump to the new line. You want to give that bump the illusion, giving that very nice shape at the back. If you don't do that, your skirt is just going to go straight without any shape at the back. So that's the essence of that. And then you also do the measurements. On the new line, I did use of 12 inches minus 1.5. Same thing I use for the front. And then, the back tightening that we did for the bump illusion from the new line, you want to just take that 0.75 down. We're going to be cutting that part out. It's still part of the bump illusion to give it a very nice fitting at the back. This is what makes skirt to look so nice. And for those that has, that shape, for that the bump, whatever, the bump to come out nice. So we call it bump illusion. So then the next thing I'll be doing is what I have on the new line, I'm going to be transferring it to the M, which was 10, I think it was 10.5, thereabouts. Yeah, depending on the number of inches you want to take out from what you have on the hip line. So that is for that. And our skirt pattern is almost ready. These I will always use this particular same one, the same method, the same drafting for a pencil skirt. But it's now depend on how pencil you want it to be. If you really want it to be really penciled, then you deduct more from what you have on the hip line. So I'm transferring the same thing for the front side too. What I have on the new length, all the same to the M line. So and that is it. And you want to try and eliminate any sharp edge, blend it nicely. And that is what you see me do there. Try to blend it so nice, guys. Yeah, blending it in a very nice way. The next thing you want to do is on the center front and the waistline, you want to come down by 1 inch. This is to eliminate those folding. When you see some dresses that don't relax well on the waistline, like having some folding up and all that, that will help to eliminate it. You come down by 1 inch and connect it to the side, to the front center, side front rather. So that is it, guys. You want to go ahead and cut it out as your pattern, be it for a straight skirt, a pencil skirt. You can just follow the same method. This is what I've been using and it has been working for me. But for us, we are still going to be altering this one into a kind of a man-made skirt. Like it's going to be flared out. We're using a slash and spread method. So I've brought out the upper bodies that we drafted initially with the basque. If you want to learn how to do this, check on my page, guys. And then the next thing we'll be doing is you need to close your darts. So for us to be able to do that, I'm going to be separating the pattern to be able to close that dart on the pattern. You need to close it and then use a sellotape to hold it down. Before we can alter this, we need to alter it into a box, because we have this box shape for the upper bodies, which is the half bodies. So we are going to be taking that out. For those that are yet to watch that video, you need to go back and watch it. It's on my page. And then yes, because from the waistline we came down by 4 inches to draw out that shape of a box. So we're going to be taking that out of the skirt pattern. So that 1 inch that I told you of for to eliminate the waist bulge, you cut it out that way first, and then hold the darts down. Then go ahead and place your pattern that way. You want to make sure it aligns and it stays nicely. Another thing you want to do is to ensure that the measurement actually rhymes, is equal. What you did use for the waist, for the upper bodice, is the same for the skirt. Yes, if not, that's going to be easier. So go ahead and do it. You can see what I've just done. You want to ensure that the waistline for the half bodice matches with the skirt. So this is me still on it. Yeah, so we're going to place it back on it now and cut that part out. But I need to show you how I was able to draw the line so that you can see it. I've gone ahead to do this, but I thought to share it again. So guys, this is how to cut that back effect and yeah, out of the skirt pattern. You want to ensure that what you, like I'm going to be explaining something there now. We did came down by 4 inches. You need to go back and watch that video, like I said, and that is it. So you're going to ensure that the waistline of bodies aligns with that of the skirt. You place it this way and ensure that it aligns before you now use your pencil or your pen to trace out that pattern. Can you see that? You want to trace out that line. Ensure it aligns, then you trace it out. Place it nicely, then you just trace out the marking, and that is what I've done already on the pattern. Just trying to re-explain again. Guys, if you have watched this video to this stage, and if you are yet to follow me, please do well to follow my page, like, comment, and share me out, guys. And yeah, that is it, guys. I would so much appreciate it. So go ahead and do that, and that's just the simple way to go about it. And then after this, you're going to be slashing your pattern using a slash and spread method to get the skirt part. So this is me. I've gone ahead to cut out that part. Let's go ahead and cut that part out. Can you see that? And we have the skirt pattern ready, almost ready. The next thing we'll be doing is we're going to extend the dart line all the way down to the hem, slash it open. Yes.